Hello everyone, Joe Gerling here. Joined by my colleague Mike. Mike works for Mekon, who are Congility's parent company. Mekon, a long-term partner of Bluestream. They offer services that help organizations get the best out of their content assets. A little bit of history: they were founded in 1990, and they are XML specialists and been focused on the DITA standard since 2005. So kind of a rich history in DITA and XML. Congility is part of the Mekon company, and we're really the division that focuses on software solutions. And these are software solutions focused on delivery of DITA content, and IdXML is one of our solutions that we're looking at today. So what is IdXML? Well, it's really intended for circumstances where late-stage editing is important. So, for example, where XSLFO or batch publishing is really not appropriate. IdXML can achieve a high percentage of automated formatting, but leaves the remaining part of the formatting under the designer's control. So it's really ideal for applications where the designer still wants to have the final input, the final say on how the content looks. So what sort of things is it used for? Well, it's really focused or really suitable for complex layouts. So if you can imagine when you get your drugs from the pharmacy, you take out the insert that tells you about dosing and side effects, and perhaps it folds out and it's in multiple languages. Or perhaps you get a consumer product, maybe a new router or a new component for your bicycle, and in the packaging is the insert that tells you how to configure your router. And then again, typically it may be in multiple languages. And it's the ability to be able to lay those, achieve those complex layouts. That's really what IdXML is very focused on. It's very smooth when it comes to updates. So basically, if you have done your first layout and your source content changes, it's very easy to re-import your updated DITA, and you don't end up having to start from scratch again, basically, each time the content changes. So it makes your updates nice and easy. It can be automated, or partially automated, I should say, with scripting. So if there are tasks that are repetitive or layouts that are difficult to achieve, these can be scripted within IdXML to help you achieve those or automate those. If we look at the overview of the process that IdXML follows, DITA XML is hierarchical and it's not really appropriate for import to InDesign. So what IdXML does is it uses a mapping file which focuses on DITA's semantic richness, DITA's semantic tagging, and it maps that to typographic look and feel within InDesign. Once it uses that mapping file then to create what we call an IdXML XML, which is really a flattened XML that contains all of the richness of the DITA, but in a suitable flattened XML format that can be imported into InDesign. You then go into Adobe InDesign. Typically you would use a template that would include all of the required styles and features, and then import the flattened IdXML XML that the plugin has created. And again, as I mentioned before, you can automate things. You can automate repetitive processes or more complex layout items, tables, and things like this with scripts if required. So that was the 5-minute whiz through of IdXML. I hope it initially makes sense. I'm going to hand over to Mike now, who's going to run you through a very simple example of, hopefully a simple example, which uses a brochure basically as an output. So, Rick, can you change the screen sharing to Mike? Or shall I do that? Okay, well done, thank you.
Hi everyone, Mike here. I'm going to demonstrate publishing the DITA content in Adobe InDesign with a simple example which I have on the screen at the moment, which is our Congility IdXML brochure. The XML workflow is a marriage of your semantic DITA content driving Adobe InDesign's rich formatting features going via the Congility IdXML plugin. Unlike an IDML export from DITA, there is no styling information stored in the plugin. It's all under the designer's control in the template. The process starts with the Adobe InDesign template. So let's have a look at the features. Okay, so this is the plain view of the template. And as you see, there are some fixed elements on the screen here. We've got, since this is a one sheet, we don't have the complication of master pages, or those can come into some of the more complicated designs that we get involved with. But on this simple one sheet design, we've got a Congility logo up here. We've got an icon and some patterning here, and we've got some address information down below. And then we've got some story text panes, text frames, which will receive the content from the IDXML. So we've got a logo frame up here. We've got another frame here, which will take an illustration of a document. We've got a little text frame right down here, which will take the created date of the actual content and brochure. And then, of course, we have the textual frames for the actual content itself. So we have a single column frame here for the intro information. We have another single column text frame here, which has the about Congility information. And then we have a threaded frame here, which is the 3 columns of the main information about the plugin. And then, of course, we have some styles to drive the formatting. So we have an object style product image, which goes on the 2 image frames that we have here, and that will scale the images as they come into those frames. And we have some paragraph styles organized according to the 3 main stories that they'll go into. So we have a couple of intro styles with the intro paragraph and the intro title. We have the main body content going into our threaded frame with a title H1, a paragraph, a first bullet style and a continuation bullet style, and about styles with a about title and about paragraph. So quite simple. So I'll flick over to Oxygen now and just give you a bit of a feel for the DITA, the simple DITA that's driving this process. So we have a simple brochure map. We always have a flat structure of topics here which come into the generate the XML and come into InDesign. So in IdXML, we have a means of grouping together pieces of discrete pieces of metadata, either images or textual metadata that can be extracted and stored in a variables section in the file. So our couple of images that we saw the frames for are stored in this particular topic. I've got my IdXML logo and I've got my document example. And we've got a couple of output classes which are driving what we do with these images. So we have an ID image var, which means we're going to create an image variable out of it. It's going to be called product logo. And we've got an ID drop here, which means I don't want to include this image in the main flow of the content, so drop it after having added it into the variable section. And it's a similar thing with this image here as well. And then we also have our created date. So in the map, we've got a create dates and created date stored here, the 24th of March. And that again will be lifted out and put into the variables section. Now, in terms of those main content text stories that we saw earlier about intro story, what will happen with IdXML is it will put all of the content by default into a story called story. So what we want to do is to direct our intro content and our about content into their own stories. So you'd already seen the intro content here, keeping control over the design process. And we've got another topic here, the Congility content with agility, the about content. And if we look at the brochure map, we'll see that we've got an output class ID story intro associated with the intro topic. And we've got an output class ID story about associated with the about Congility DITA. So those output classes will ensure that that content is directed into those differently named stories. And then generally, the elements within the topics are transformed to output elements in the XML file according to IdXML's conditions and rules. And I'll talk about a bit more about those when I've imported the content into InDesign. So if I flip back to InDesign now. So the IdXML is the result of the transformation. So basically, that content you saw in Oxygen, you'd run a DITA Open Toolkit plugin on that, and we get the XML coming out. And I'm going to import the XML into this template. And it's a partially complete in terms of the XML structure, which is already present on the structure. So we have some higher level elements here which are associated with the stories on the template. So we have our product image and our product logo. We have the intro already associated, and we have about already associated. Which I'm just going to close this one down and just swap my templates. Okay. So we've already got intro, as I said, and about already associated with the intro and about frames, but we don't yet have anything in here which is associated with the main story. So importing the XML is a standard feature of Adobe InDesign, so I can access it from the structure view menu. And you can see as we import the content, it has now populated the XML under the stories that we already had present on the structure view. We've also now got the additional story element story with all the content for the main flow. And you can see, because we already had those associations between the image elements and the image text frames, and we already had our intro story and our about story associated, the contents automatically flowed into those stories. So at this point, it's a good opportunity, using the structure view, to point out a few of the features of IdXML. There's a lot it can do, but this is a brief intro. As I was talking about before, we have the concept of a variables section, which is really an area where discrete pieces of metadata, either text or image, can be picked up and stored together for association and import into the template. This is not necessarily a direct one-for-one with what InDesign offers as variables, but obviously InDesign can offer textual variables that can be included on master pages, and we have written scripts before where you can just get a script to process and convert the textual variables in that variable section to actual InDesign variables, and then you can get that content imported into your master pages for more sophisticated designs. You'll see, in terms of the names of the elements which are coming in on the XML, not exactly the same as the tags or the elements which were used in the DITA. In particular, the intro and about tags have used a feature of Adobe IdXML where you can apply a post-processing XSLT to the content. So what we've done is to prefix the name of the story on the front of the names of the XML elements. And then in terms of the main story, you can see from the title that you can represent the level of the title in the name of the title. And that's an automatic feature of IdXML. Works in a similar way to Word. You think about the headings, heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. Again, from, as Joe said, you've got a flattened structure here, so you've got to communicate that context with the level information. As it happens with this information, we only have level 1s, hence title H1. And then a similar feature with lists. We've got a bulleted list here, where we can actually have different names for the first, the continuation, and the last. As it happens on this one, we only have first and continuation. And you can see there, level 1. If we had another list nested within that list, then that would be level 2. So you're building up from the hierarchical context of the DITA, a flattened structure that can be easily imported into InDesign and formatted. So as I was saying earlier, we haven't yet associated our story with this threaded frame. And the easiest way to do that is just to drag the story onto the frame. And you'll see that the content flows across the 3 columns. But also at the moment, it's completely unstyled. And Adobe InDesign offers a feature to map your XML elements to the styles that you've already seen within the template. So again, I can go to the burger menu. I can choose the map tags to styles. and I can choose to map the 3 styles that aren't currently mapped. Which isn't playing ball at the moment. Let's try it again. So, oh, I don't know why it's doing that. Okay. Something's bound to go wrong on a demo, isn't it? Anyway, I mean, you can see from this dialogue that there are already elements that are already mapped. In fact, that one seems to have worked. Let's try again. Okay. Anyway, you can see how that would work. And if I click on OK, then it would normally format. In fact, the bulleted list down here has been formatted because that one worked. And then once you've got all your elements associated and you've got all your mappings done, then your template's ready for use and will automatically style as you bring the content in. So if I close this one down, and this is the full one I already have created, which has all the associations already made. So now if I import the content, you'll see what it always flows into the document, and it's all automatically styled because those map tags to styles have been set. Of course, this is, as we said, is a very simple example. You've got control over the formatting. So, for example, if you decided that you wanted to change the color of your title H1s, then you could. And this example is very similar to a lot of the data sheets that we see. You know, people will have product data sheets where they have distinct areas on the page where they have different content flying into those areas. So it's similar in that respect. And then finally, I just wanted to bring up these few slides just to demonstrate a different type of output from one of our customers. So this is a Bulgarian output of their product information sheets. We have some areas here where we're applying text frames automatically with scripts to notes. We have the similar content here flying into a black and white pamphlet design. And then lastly, as Joe was mentioning, you have a very similar content again flying into a very plain product insert, which you would have with your packaging. And that's it from me. Thanks very much for watching the demo.
Thank you, Rick. Yeah, so Any questions? I think we've got, I can see a couple coming in. First one was from Mitch Aberson, who's asking which version of the Open Toolkits are supported. He's saying they are on 2.5.2 and would like to know if there are more current versions available, or whether I guess they can go to a more current OT version. So Mike, sorry, good question for you.
Well, certainly in terms of IdXML, I mean, it's supported on whichever version you use from 1.8 upwards.
Okay. Hopefully that answers your question, Mitch. And there's also another question from Klaus, who's asking, would the application work if you had multiple layers for different languages?
I'm not familiar with that one. I mean, it's probably, it depends on whether the content can be directed into those multiple layers. I'm suspecting not, but but we could have a look to see what's involved.
Okay. Let me see. We've got a question from Julian regarding pricing, or licensing, I should say, rather than pricing. IdXML is sold based on a term license, so it's an annual term or yearly term license, and it's available as either a personal license or a what we call a server license. And a personal license kind of speaks for itself. A server license, you would, might be part of a CCMS installation or something like that. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your attendance, your time. Bye-bye.